Hello, it's Nick for the Run Testers, and this is our review of the Brooks Glycerin 20. So we'll start with the price of the shoe, which is £150 in the UK or $160 in the US. As well as being quite an expensive shoe, it's a very heavy shoe. It weighs 314 grams in my UK size 9, which is 11 ounces. And it's got a 10mm drop from heel to toe with a stack height of 34mm at the heel and 24 at the forefoot. So the Glycerin is an exciting shoe for lots of reasons. One is that the Glycerin is always a nice shoe to test. It's a very comfortable, cushioned, premium trainer with a big stack of kind of soft foam underneath, but the foam this time is different to the last few versions. This is Brooks's DNA Loft version 3 foam, which we first saw in the kind of outlandish Brooks Aurora-BL last year. So it's a nitrogen-infused foam, the idea being it's a bit lighter, a bit poppier, a bit more responsive than the EVA foams that Brooks has used in the past on the Glycerin line that were very soft and comfortable, but maybe lacked a bit of liveliness compared to some of the more modern foams out on the market. The Glycerin 20 comes in a standard version, which is this, and a GTS version, which has Brooks's guide rails to offer a bit more stability, and both the GTS and the normal version come in a stealth fit as well, which is a slightly kind of sleeker looking upper. This is the normal upper, it's a nice upper. I haven't used the stealth fit version, so I can't really comment on that. So this is the standard, like I say, this is the standard shoe, which has got just the usual engineered mesh upper. It's got a nice, comfortable fit. It's fairly breathable in my testing, and there's obviously a lot of padding around the heel and tongue, which you'd expect from the Glycerin, which is really all about that step-in comfort. So the midsole is the kind of key update to the shoe. When we tested the Aurora-BL last year, we were all really impressed by the new DNA Loft version 3 foam. Found it very bouncy, very lively. It's kind of a different feel on the Glycerin. Just is a kind of beefier, more heavy shoe with a far more kind of comprehensive outsole than the Aurora, which was pretty good do-it-all trainer. This is built more for kind of comfort, for easy runs, and the midsole has been adjusted slightly as a result of that. Brooks also says that this is a wider platform than past Glycerins, and you're going to get a slightly smoother transition from heel to toe. Outsole has, like I say, a good amount of coverage there of rubber, fairly thick layer too. It obviously adds a bit of weight, but you get that back in kind of durability and grip. Even though there's a little bit of exposed foam there, it's not really in a key area, and no one's really expecting any problems with durability with this shoe.
So the fit for me in the Glycerin 20 is true to size, definitely true to size. It is a fairly roomy shoe, but not so much that you'd want to in any way size up. I think it's just designed to be slightly roomier for comfort. The padding around the shoe's collar and the tongue is quite thick, so it does lend itself to having a nice lockdown fit. And the upper is also fairly relaxed. It's a soft material that means you can get a nice comfortable fit and move your toes around as well in the shoe.
Fit for me was pretty much spot on the Glycerin 20. No real issues to report here. I had a UK size 8. I feel like it's true to size with this shoe if you're going to go for it. It's nice and spacious in the toe box, no real kind of pressing on the other sides of the foot, particularly in the kind of in the midfoot. These laces kind of sit quite snug on top of the foot as well. And you've got this quite generously, I would say, padded tongue that sits quite high up the foot, but it doesn't move once you kind of get it in place, and didn't kind of really budge on my runs. And then you've got a decent amount of padding here around the heel, not a massive amount, but it means it's comfortable around the back here of the shoe as well. So yeah, for me, UK size 8, true to size, no issues to report.
So the fit for me in the Glycerin 20 was really all good, true to size, very comfortable amount of room in the toe box, good hold, no slippage at the heel or anything like that. Yeah, fit was very good for me all round.
So I was very much looking forward to running in this shoe, and that's mainly because it's got that DNA Loft V3 midsole technology that we saw in the Brooks Aurora shoe, that kind of space boot that we kind of called it, which actually in my few runs in it was really enjoyable, and I was looking to see how that would work its way into other kind of ranges in kind of Brooks collection. The Glycerin 20 is one of those shoes that has that new midsole tech. For me, on my runs, it definitely felt nice and soft. It felt responsive. It didn't feel too overly soft, I don't think. And the ride in general was very good. I definitely think when I had some kind of nice straight kind of bits of road to kind of go at, it felt really nice and, you know, nimble. And I felt like I got a really nice feeling running in this shoe. I think my only thing is I almost wish like it had more of what we saw in that Aurora shoe. It almost maybe needed a bit more of that kind of midsole tech, I think, because ultimately, while it's lighter than the previous Glycerin, I still found it a little bit heavy in places maybe. And when It's not a shoe, I don't think, based on my running, that I would probably race in. I think I could probably do some tempo stuff in it, do some kind of easy, slow, longer stuff. You've got that comfort level, I think, to now enable you to do that. And an outsole as well, which, it's pretty solid, I would say. No real signs of wear yet, and I think that's going to last you a lot of running time. I just almost think that I was hoping it'd be a bit more snappier. It does well overall. I just think there's room for it to be better, I think, and I almost wonder whether this midsole tech will make it into Brooks's performance shoes, and that's where we'll see, that ability to go, a little bit quicker, or make use of that midsole tech to go a little bit quicker as well. But ultimately, it is a daily trainer shoe, and from that point of view, I think it worked pretty well. It felt comfortable in terms of getting the upper, in terms of that feeling underfoot and in the midsole. And on my runs, it felt solid overall. There was something there missing for me that I was hoping to see from the shoe. But ultimately, it was good in my runs. I think it's, in terms of what it's designed for, I think it's gonna work for most people looking for a kind of daily trainer which can work at a variety of paces. Maybe I just wouldn't race in it personally. I think there's probably better shoes or better equipped shoes to do that.
I've done just shy of 60 kilometres in the Glycerin 20, and they've been very enjoyable kilometres. I will say that when you first step into the shoe and start running, it's not all that remarkable. It's got a good amount of step-in comfort, maybe even slightly less than past Glycerins, but it just feels better and better throughout every run that you go on, is what I found with the shoe. Like every time I go out for a run the shoe, at the end I'm itching to do a few more miles, just because they've been really enjoyable, and the feel of the shoe just doesn't change at all throughout the run. There's softness and bounce from this cushioning, and where maybe on the kind of past Glycerins they were always kind of soft, but towards the end of long runs in particular, you might just start to lose a little bit of kind of bounce back from that foam, and maybe you'd feel that you're just sinking in a bit too much towards the end of those runs. Whereas with this, the kind of bouncy feeling from the foam just lasts throughout the run. It's not like boing boing springy or anything like that, but it has got a very enjoyable, responsive feel to it, where you're feeling protected from the ground underfoot, but you are getting a nice kind of degree of energy return that just helps you keep ticking along throughout your run. So I also say on a pure recovery run, one of my early morning runs, which I hate, it felt great in that it disappeared on the foot. That's all you can ever ask for a shoe, I think, on those kind of runs, like to not be annoying. Like recently I've done a similar run in the New Balance 1080, and it did really annoy me. On an early, it just felt clunky and heavy, and like everything feels clunky and heavy early in the morning when you haven't eaten. But Brooks, it was great. It disappeared on the foot, nice, comfortable, protective feel, but I was getting a good amount of energy return, and the shoe just wasn't in the way, which is what I wanted there. I will say it's not a versatile or particularly fast shoe though. Like I think over the course of long progression runs, which I've done some in the shoe, you can tick up the pace. Like I did my Sunday long run of 90 minutes, ticking through the gears, and finished kind of around 3:30, 3:40 a k pace, and it was fine for that. If you're just gradually kind of increasing the pace, it feels really good, in fact. And at the end of that run, that was probably my favourite run in the shoe, because it was the longest run in the shoe, and I really feel like the longer you go in the shoe, the more you enjoy it. So yeah, it has got that pace in it for kind of easy, steady work, but if you go out with intent to run like a fast 10k or go and do some reps, it is a bit big and heavy and cumbersome, and the foam is good, but yeah, it's not perfect for that kind of running. But I've never found the Glycerins amazing for that. Like they've never been built to be a fast shoe. They're all about providing comfort for kind of more experienced runners to use as their easy day shoe, and then for kind of new runners or people who are just doing it for the enjoyment or of the sport or for health reasons, just a shoe that will protect them whilst feeling good underfoot throughout runs of any length. So yeah, it's a lovely shoe for big mileage weeks, and I think about our biggest compliment as I can pay a shoe is that I always want to do a bit more running in the shoe when I do pull it on, which is a great sign.
I've been desperate to try out the Glycerin 20 for a long time. I was a big fan of the Glycerin 18s and 19s, and the 20 is a really exciting shoe because of the updates that have been made to it. The previous versions haven't had massive updates made to them. They've still just been a solid, consistent cushioned shoe for easy training miles, whereas the Glycerin 20 has this new updated nitrogen-infused midsole foam, which does make the shoe very different. It's a really exciting shoe, but that midsole also might be an issue for people that are used to the previous midsole foam and probably aren't expecting this new updated version. I've done about 55k in this shoe so far, and that has included a few training runs up to about 11, 12k, which were at my base pace, which was around 5-minute kilometers, and I also tested it out on a race at the weekend. So I did a 11-mile road race to see how the Glycerin 20 would do if you actually wanted to test it out and use it on a race distance. And what I found over that testing is that it is actually quite similar to the previous ones. I think it's still very much the same sort of shoe. If you're getting this shoe as an upgrade to your previous ones, you're not going to be overwhelmed by the changes, but it does feel different when you start wearing it. So this midsole foam, this nitrogen-infused midsole foam, is quite different than the DNA Loft midsole foam that's in the previous Brooks Glycerin shoes. And what I found is that it does feel, at slower paces, it does feel a bit softer. It does feel, I don't think the shoe's massively lighter, but it does feel a little bit more lightweight, a little bit less bulky. And it works completely fine. I think it's a fantastic foam for doing easy miles in. It's got a nice little bit of bounce in it. It's not really soft, so it doesn't sort of dull the running as you're going along. And generally, it's just a very solid midsole foam that I think has a lot going for it. What I found over easy miles is that this is where the shoe really excels. It's a fantastic easy day shoe that's really comfortable. There's a lot of cushioning in it, but that midsole foam that sits within it is slightly firmer than some cushion shoes that I use, and as a result it is a little bit more propulsive. It's just a little bit more responsive for me than what I get from some other cushion shoes. When I tested it out on the race at the weekend, what I found was it really isn't a shoe well designed for running at speed. It's very difficult to pick up pace in this shoe. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of turnover in it if you're trying to maintain a consistent pace. And it generally just doesn't feel like it's helping you in any way to run faster. I don't think that's a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination, because the Glycerin range is really not designed for that. It's really designed for comfort, cushioning and support over those training miles, and for those runs I think it does exceptionally well. I think it's still one of, if not top two for me, running shoes out there for easy day miles. More about my favourite easy day shoe in a bit. Other than that, it's a very comfortable shoe. I just think it's solid, just does the job. There's a nice bit of rubber on the outside for protection over that midsole foam, and it gives a good level of grip as well. But yes, it's really not a shoe that's designed for efficiency or running faster. It's just a solid, good, sturdy shoe that will keep you very comfortable and minimise impact when you're running those easy miles. So my verdict on the Brooks Glycerin 20 is that I think it's just a slight improvement on the previous Glycerin. Not massively. If I was given this or the Brooks Glycerin 19, it wouldn't be a massive decision for me to make which one I would have to go for. I think either of them would be fine for those easy day miles. I don't think there's any major benefits that you get with the Glycerin 20 over the Glycerin 19. But that foam just is slightly different, so it might be more towards your preference if you like a foam that is just a little bit bouncier and a little bit more responsive. But for easy day miles, I don't think that's an issue, and I'd definitely still go for the Brooks 19 if you could get it cheaper. When it comes to cushion shoes, I've been very vocal about my love of the New Balance Fresh Foam More V3 recently. The Brooks Glycerin 19 was my favourite cushioned running shoe for a year, and the 18 before it. The Brooks Glycerin 20, I was really interested in trying this shoe because I wanted to know if it beat, for me, the New Balance Fresh Foam More V3. That shoe is just so cushioned, so comfortable, and just feels great for those easy day miles. The other thing it has as well is it's got more of a rocker design, so it's a little bit more conducive to to forward momentum and maintaining a pace when you're running those training miles. So I was really interested to try the Glycerin 20 because I wanted to see if it would beat the Fresh Foam More V3 for me as my favourite cushion shoe, because the More V3 is currently the top slot for cushion shoes for me. I don't think it does. I think it's getting there. I just don't think there's a big enough change in this shoe to make it as good as the More V3 for me. That shoe is just a little bit more versatile. There's a bit more cushioning in it, but it still delivers well at the same sort of paces that you would in the Brooks Glycerin 20. And I just enjoy running in that shoe more. I don't think the Brooks Glycerin 20 is way off. I just don't. The More V3 just pips it for me at the post, and I'd still go for the More V3 if I wanted a good cushion shoe. But having said that, I think this is still an easy second for me in the cushion shoe world. I think if you're looking for an easy day shoe, if you're doing lots of slow, comfortable miles in your training, Glycerin 20 is a fantastic option. It's just comfortable and just does the job in every way that you could want. So you definitely will not go wrong with the Brooks Glycerin 20. Although I would say that if you really want a Brooks Glycerin and you don't want to fork out the quite hefty cost for the Glycerin 20, The Brooks 18 and 19 are pretty much on a par with it, maybe just slightly below, because that foam for me is just a little bit better in the Glycerin 20. But other than that, I'd probably go for one of the older versions if you're just looking for a solid, easy day shoe.
So the Glycerin 20 does its job tremendously well, I would say, and it's a successful introduction of this new DNA Loft foam into Brooks's more mainstream shoes after it was initially introduced in the Aurora concept shoe. It will eat up your easy and base miles very nicely as long as you're okay with the weight. Generally, I probably prefer a lighter cushion shoe myself. I don't necessarily need a full max cushion shoe most of the time. I will use something like the Pegasus 39, the Puma Velocity Nitro 2, the Ride 15, all quite versatile daily trainers that I think are quite good for easy runs, and they cost a lot less than the Glycerin, and that is kind of the other sticking point with the shoes, that it's a big price, it's a hefty price. There are a lot of these premium daily trainers that cost this kind of 140 to 160 mark, but if you don't need an all-out cushion shoe, you are going to find better value in those daily trainers around the 100 mark, I would say. This is obviously premium big cushion. It's more comfortable than those options, and I think within that category, it's a very strong option. There are lots of really good shoes here. I personally don't love the New Balance 1080. I find it a bit too kind of firm, and I find the ride much better on the Brooks, but there's also the very soft and squishy Nike Invincible, Puma Magnify Nitro, which also has a nitrogen-infused foam. I think, again, the ride's just a bit smoother and more responsive on the Brooks than the Puma Magnify, but that's another very good option that is a bit cheaper for a big cushion shoe like this. Then there's something like the On Cloud Monster, which has again a firmer ride, slightly more versatile option. It's a bit lighter as well. That's another good cushioned option out there. And there's a New Balance More V3. I think the V4 is coming soon. I haven't tested that. Tom loves it. I need to get that in, and I'm sure I can find out why Tom loves it so much. But yeah, the Brooks is another very strong entry in that category. It's probably, I'd say it's probably my favourite of those shoes if you're not worried about the weight or the price, but it is a bit of a luxury shoe, I will say that. It's big cushion, it's a mileage monster, it'll eat up all the stuff you can throw at it, and you'll finish your runs feeling great about the shoe and your running in general, but it's not the most versatile, it's very expensive, and it kind of has to sit in a certain niche within a rotation, so there are always people who are going to find better value elsewhere, but yeah, certainly one worth checking out if you are looking for a lot of cushioning and a fun ride.
So my verdict on the Brooks Glycerin 20 is that it's been a solid shoe overall in my runs. I think as a daily trainer shoe, I think it pretty much delivers what you want. It's a shoe that I think you can go long and easy in. I think you have the capacity to pick up the pace a little bit as well. I don't think you can go at your quickest in this shoe. I don't think it feels best at your quickest, but ultimately you can run a little bit quicker, I think, and it gives you that capacity to do that. Is it the best daily trainer shoe out there that kind of sits or fits that criteria? I would probably still say the Puma Velocity Nitro 2 is a little bit nicer overall. Obviously similar in terms of the foam technology that's used in the midsole. I think things like the Saucony Ride 15, that's probably got a more comfortable upper, but ultimately I think maybe this has a nicer ride overall. But yeah, in terms of sitting in that bracket of a kind of nice, kind of all-round daily trainer shoe, I think it's a good option still. Is it the best? Probably not, but I think it's up there with the kind of top options at the moment. And I think a good shoe, it's going to be a good shoe for a lot of people, I think, overall. So yeah, overall, a really solid option, I think. If you're looking for a daily trainer, the Brooks Glycerin 20 definitely fits that profile. Is it the best one out there based on my testing? Maybe not, but I think it's definitely up there, and I think it's going to serve a lot of people well overall. So yeah, solid option, I think, here from Brooks with the Glycerin 20.
So guys, that's our review of the Brooks Glycerin 20. Please like, subscribe, ring the little bell, and yeah, we'll see you next time on the Run Testers.